Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Corner Pod, where we talk about all things football. I'm your host Hari Keshav, and today we've got a very special episode lined up for all of you. We all know that the Premier League, it's that time of the year where in the Premier League, the PFA, the various media houses hand out end of season awards every year. And that is why I thought, why not start our own tradition on Football Corner Pod? And that is why I'm welcoming all of you to the very first edition of the Football Corner Pod end of season awards, where our panel will debate, discuss, argue, disagree, and also finally decides who deserves to be taking the award home for each category. And joining me today on the pod are two fantastic football content creators. So first up, we have Piyush Bhai, who's a massive Manchester United, Manchester City fan. Sorry, I wish you would defect to the red side of Manchester. No, that's a major gap from my side. So Piyush is a
It's okay.
massive Manchester City fan, and he's someone I really look up to and love having football conversations with. He's the face behind the YouTube and Instagram channel Let Me Talk City, where he's amassed close to around 1,500 subscribers. So Piyush Pai, it's always a pleasure to have you. And sorry for the introduction gap on my end.
No, Bhai. I mean, I'm actually very humbled by the beautiful intro. I mean, I quite like it. As you said, Bhai, and there's nothing wrong in being a Man United fan. I mean, I've grown up watching Manchester United very up close, very closely. It was just a personal thing. It at my household that my elder brother was a United fan. He has just tormented me throughout my
Okay.
childhood, and that is the only reason I despise United. But maybe in some other world, maybe in some other life, maybe I also become a Man United fan. You never know.
That's a brilliant background story as well, Piyush Pai. So hopefully, if your brother had been a Manchester City fan and lived through all this success, probably would have turned out to be a
he
United fan and struggling with us
he
now.
he always used to tell me, like, out of so many clubs, how could you choose this club? And I told
Huh.
him always, like, your memory is like so short term that you don't remember when we used to play FIFA. You by default, since you were the elder brother, you always used to give me the toggle with Manchester City on it because you wanted to punish Manchester City by United. And that is where I just wanted to take your revenge. And look, God is on our side now. Like, Manchester
Yeah.
City are the team which are dominating in my time. So yeah.
Absolutely, right. What incredible times we live in. But yeah, wonderful background story as well. I always wanted to ask you why, what, because I thought you were like most of the City fans have converted from Barcelona fans to City fans. So I was always thought that since that would probably be your backstory as well, was very interesting and
So
funny
if you would allow me, Hari, I'll just briefly tell you exactly what had happened.
Go for it.
So
Go for
I
it.
was introduced to football by my lovely brother, and the first memory that I have of any football match is 2002 World Cup opener, France versus Senegal. So I was
Okay.
very small back then. I had no clue what football was. It's just the first memory of watching a football match with my brother. That is what I remember, and that match was very memorable because of the way, because France were defending champions and they lost that match to Senegal, and that was it. I never touched football again until 2006 World Cup came, and my brother was an Italy fan, so he used to draw a lot of formations in his cardboards, and he used to tell me, like, this player. That I had no clue what he was doing. It's just the memory that I have. And once that World Cup hangover uh, ended with me, I really wanted to get into football. I really wanted to watch more footballs. Since I was now older, I could understood what was happening. And 2007-8 is the season where I started watching football per se, and that is the season where I absolutely Manchester United decimated everybody left, right, and center. The beautiful trio of Cristiano Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney, and everything was lined up for me to become a Man United fan. Like, it's tailor made for me. I just loved CR7. I just loved that jersey. I just loved that AIG red color jersey and everything that United stood for. And and then after that season, I remember very correctly, I was introduced to PS2 for the first time, and that
Mhm.
is when I used to play with my brother FIFA, and it was, I think, FIFA 8 or FIFA 9 or whatever. And my brother, once he went for his college, the entire setup was left for myself only. And I used to play a lot of FIFA back
Amazing.
then. And I
Nice.
remember playing those career modes, and with Manchester United also. I used to take Manchester United, but it's a very strong team that time. So in that career mode, I remember very correctly that there was a game in the Champions League where I played Valencia. And in that
Hmm.
time, if you guys have played FIFA back then, like the commentary was very different to what is it right now. So the
Okay.
commentators didn't used to take the names of every player. So let's say if
Okay.
the player is really special, only
Yeah.
then the commentator would specifically tell their name. So let's say if a Rooney
Okay.
scores, then he would say a Rooney
Uh,
had scored. But let's say a Hargreaves scores, he wouldn't name Hargreaves. So that was the takeaway from my side, like as to if a commentator is naming a player, that means that player is really good. And in Champions League, you used to get we used to get a lot of teams from Spain, and so on and so forth. I remember one of the games that I played against Valencia, and David Silva was playing, and he, by the way, scored two beautiful free kicks inside out. And he, that commentator, named him. That was that is the only reason I knew who David Silva was. Fortunately for me, 2010 World Cup, he was at Spain's, and I think he played really well. I fell in love with that guy. Next thing you know, I really wanted to see him more, but La Liga coverage was not as prominent as Premier League was. And in 2000, post that World Cup, they had signed, Man City had signed David Silva. So I only
hmm.
started watching Man City just to watch that guy play. And then I went to
Amazing.
boarding school. I could not follow the entire season. And I remember I came back for holidays, and I'm so sorry to both the United fans. Like, that was the game where I actually fell in love with Man City, was the 6-1 Old Trafford drubbing. I mean, that is the game I remember very correctly. And from then till now, I haven't missed a single Man City match.
Yeah.
So that is how story started for Man City.
Amazing, amazing. But not many people would say that they followed the career of David Silva, and this is why I became a Man City fan, because of David Silva. That's amazing. But because if you look at even that Spain team, right, you don't, the first thing that the few players that do come to your mind, David
Yeah,
Silva is not the first ones,
of
but
course, of course.
people who do know football or followed it very closely knows what a very, very special player David Silva was.
Yeah, I think
To
it was
Spain,
meant
my
to be, as you said, like that famous team of all the superstars from Spain, like in terms of Barcelona and Real Madrid. The only reason as I said, I remember him was because of that FIFA commentator. And since I
mm,
was always into Premier League, I never used to take Barcelona or Madrid for even for games as well. So
yeah,
I never played even against a computer when someone had put up a, let's say, a Barcelona or Madrid. And I remember that name very correctly because in that Champions League, I had to face Valencia, and he defeated me. And then when you see him in real life and you see how
yeah,
beautiful he is, short, tiny player who defies
yeah,
logic, like at that point of time, it was never like, I always grew up watching players like Patrick Vieira and Emile Petit and so on and so forth, even Dennis Bergkamp for that matter. I never thought a midfielder of 5'5" would actually dominate a league, and that was very fascinating for me too as well. That is why I kind of gravitated towards him even more.
Hmm.
amazing, amazing, man. Yeah, I mean, especially at that era, we didn't have many players who could do that. Run past people, dribble, and also low center of gravity. I mean, the low center of gravity players are, yeah,
Yeah,
just amazing. And then skip past players, but amazing. This has been amazing. I mean, we wanted to do something else, but then this has been a brilliant backstory. Thank you so much, Piyush Bhai, for sharing that with us.
I appreciate it.
And also joining us today is Yash Bhai, and who doesn't know from anybody in the Manchester United fan base? If you do not know Yash Bhai from Defective by channel, then you're probably living under a rock. So he's one of the most. I mean, some of the content that Yash Bhai you provide is just so fun filled, so passionate, and some of the outrageous takes you do. We know you as a person, so we don't take it to heart, but some of the things that you absolutely put out there with so much passion and
Hmm.
so much fun, we just love seeing more of you, Yashbhai. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've been quite busy with not just streams but studies and other things, but thank you so much for making time today, Yashbhai.
Yeah,
Appreciate
थैंक
it.
यू हरी भाई फॉर कॉलिंग. वही पहली बात तो थैंक यू यार लिटरली कॉलिंग करने के लिए. बट नहीं यार, मेरा कंटेंट मोस्टली मेरा नेचर इज काइंड ऑफ बकचोदी, तो वो कंटेंट पे भी दिख ही जाता है, बट आई एम स्टिल लर्निंग ईच एंड एवरी डे व्हाट टू स्पीक, हाउ टू स्पीक, एंड ये है भाई थोड़ा
No,
मेरा.
Bhai. No, Bhai. That's what makes you very different. That is what at least I really like about you because you can just you say something and then and we know your nature as well, and that's what we really love about your content as well. So thank you so much,
हाँ,
Irfan, for
कभी
joining
कभी
us.
जो चीज नहीं बोलनी होती है वो निकल जाती है, मतलब फन वे में, बट हाँ मैं हमेशा ही बोलता हूँ पर्सनली कभी ना लेना, बट यार
Ah,
इट्स.
brilliant.
नाउ यू ऑल नो यार, मतलब अभी कितना टाइम हो गया
Ah,
स्टार्टिंग ऑफ
ah,
डिफेक्टिव से. आई नो पीयूष भाई एंड यू बीच बीच दौरान मिले थे, तो नाउ आई पर्सनली नो यू गाइस एज वेल, तो मजा आती है तुम लोग के साथ. आई नो
ah,
हाउ यू गाइस फील एंड क्या नहीं बोलना है, बट
ah,
स्टार्टिंग में नेचर ही वैसा होता है, तो मुश्किल हो जाती
You
है
could
पूरी.
that is one of the most brilliant points that you said, Yash bhai. I mean, I remember initially I used to get when I
हम्म.
started doing content, I kind of felt like I had to just answer everyone when it came to Man City. Like if any troll,
हम्म.
anybody who speaks anything about Man City, I kind of felt inherent obligation to just speak about it. And it is only gradually that with maturity you realize like you don't need to touch every nerves, and you also need to like in due course I understood like not everything is to be taken personally. It is meant for content, and if someone has said something outrageous as well, maybe that is the intentions are very different than what I am perceiving, and it only gets better when you do it for a longer period. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of agree. Bhai. Matlab, initially I also was very bad in handling things.
100% प्योर मैन. तुम आप लोग से सीखते हैं यार, मतलब तुम लोग, आप लोग की स्ट्रीम्स देख के, आप लोग की वीडियोस देख के कहीं ना कहीं मैं भी सीखता हूँ, दिल से सीखता हूँ. एंड अभी मैं नहीं आ पाता स्टार्टिंग में, बट मैं सबके रिकॉर्डिंग वीडियोस में कहीं ना कहीं देख ही लेता हूँ. एंड द पॉइंट वेर यू गाइस टेक, लाइक यू नो, मेरे पॉइंट्स होते हैं, लाइक द थिंग विच आई एम थिंकिंग ऑफ मे बी नॉट राइट, बट क्या पता पीयूष भाई की मैंने वीडियो देख ली, उस मुझे अभी भी याद है मेरे 115 चार्जेस पे मेरे को इतनी नॉलेज नहीं थी, बट व्हेन आई टॉक टू पीयूष भाई ऑन स्ट्रीम ओनली, ही एक्सप्लेन द होल स्टफ, एंड मेरा पूरा पर्सपेक्टिव बदल गया. हाँ भाई, ये भी चीज है भाई, हमने ये तो सोचा ही नहीं था कभी, बिकॉज प्रीमियर लीग एंड मैन सिटी आर प्लेइंग पॉलिटिक्स विद ईच अदर, है ना, तो इसके वजह से भी सिटी को कंट्रोल में रख रही है. वो मेरा
Yeah.
पर्सपेक्टिव था ही नहीं. हम मजाक उड़ाने में बोल देते हैं यार, अभी भी बोल ही देता हूँ मैं कि भाई चलो
Yeah.
115 लगे, but the knowledge when the serious talk happening, it's not only City problem, it's also Premier League problem in the same case. ये मुझे
Yeah.
लगता है.
absolutely. Brilliant, brilliant, guys. I mean, this is like, I mean, usually what I do is I start off the episode and I just introduce the guests and then we are quickly into the topic. But trust me, today I've really, really enjoyed these introductions and some backstories. And this is how I believe conversations should happen. So thank you so much, guys. So quickly now, let me introduce how the format works. So also to the viewers, it's going to be very simple. So we'll go award by award and look at the nominees for each category. And then we will run through each of the nominees and talk about why this person was a good nominee. But we will also we will also tell the viewers and ourselves and explain why this player or this manager deserves to win the award. And there's going to be disagreements. There's going to be some outrageous takes, and obviously there's going to be some bias from the teams that we support as well. But that is the beauty of discussing these awards. And as always with awards, you don't need to have set criteria, right? It's a beauty contest at the end of the day. Whatever feels
Yeah.
right to you, you just go with it. Okay, perfect. So let me now bring up the first award of the afternoon, at least here in Germany, and night in India. So let me bring that up. And this is going to be
जर्मनी का अवार्ड.
okay. So you're able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
मुझे नहीं दिख रहा है.
ये मुझे भी अभी
Maybe.
नहीं दिख रहा भाई. No.
Okay. Let me then bring it on
Yeah.
to the stage. How about now?
हाँ, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can also zoom this up. So the first award of the evening is the Premier League Young Player of the Season. So I'm hoping that you guys are able to see the nominees. So
Yeah.
Premier League actually awarded the award today to Nico Riley, who I
Yeah.
thought was a very good pick as well. But as part of the Football Corner Pod Awards session, I thought for me, these are some of the really good young players who I believe
Hmm.
could be close nominees as well. So just to quickly run through, Turkey, who's had a fantastic season at City. So as Nico O'Reilly. Junior Krupi from Bournemouth. I mean, everybody knows what he's been doing at Bournemouth, and how, like, for such a youngster to come up and score 13 goals in just 20 starts, that's a fantastic season. Mateus Fernandes at West Ham, again, 3 goals and 3 assists. Not so much on the goals and assists, but some of the tackles and ball recoveries that he does per match. Certainly a exciting player to watch. And I put in Kobe Menu as well, because yes, he's got one goal and 2 assists, but we also should keep in mind that it's only 15 starts, and probably all of these starts came under Carrick itself. So these are my nominees. If I did miss anybody, Piyush Bhai and Defective Bhai, please do let me know. But if you feel that these nominees are fine, then who do you think is your winner, um, and why? And also feel free to run through the nominees as well. Piyush Bhai.
I think it's quite fair, but I think the names that you've just mentioned, I don't want to say anything bad about Kobe Mainu, but the only
Mhm.
criticism, or let's say the only downside of having him in this situation is, like, in the first half of the season he was
Yep.
struggling a lot under Amorim, but he kind of find new wings under Carrick, and he had become very instrumental to whatever Manchester United did post
Mhm.
Amorim. So he also needs to be here, and it's quite right there. Rest all of them have had fantastic season. And if we can go one by one, I think I would start by let's say Matheus Fernandes. I think he has been a breath of fresh air this season. I think we have always associated West Ham with with senior boys, like with Bowen, with Soucek, with few others, even for that matter Paqueta. But this is one guy who this season has been very very consistent. It's very unfortunate for him and for West Ham that they found themselves in such a situation, and it is testament to the fact that even when West Ham is on the verge of getting relegated, there's a player who has made it to Young Player of the Season award nominees. It kind of
Mhm.
tells you what kind of a season he has had. And as you can see, not only with regards to his goal contributions, I think the kind of performances that he has had. I remember the match against Man City. He was very good. I think I remember the match against Man United as well. Both away games, he was very very good. So he's also one of those players which 100% some of the Premier League teams would be eyeing up for if West Ham goes down. With regards to Krupi Junior, I think he has also been a breath of fresh air. But I think the only hesitation with regards to him for me
Mm.
is, like, I really want to see him start the next season
Yeah.
the way he has ended this season, because for
Yep.
a very long time at Bournemouth we have seen a lot of players who performed over their own XGs, or like they have over delivered in terms of their performances because of the manager. I remember Solanke had a wonderful season, and when once he left to Spurs, I mean, nobody remembers that what has happened to Solanke. Even Semenyo, for that matter, for the first half of the season, I think Semenyo took a lot of weight out of their goal scoring contribution.
Correct.
And it is only after Semenyo had left we actually saw Krupi Junior, which is like post January. So
Yep.
in that terms, only in that terms, I feel he has not played enough games for me to be there in terms of him winning the trophy. But I understand why people want him to win. With
Mm.
regards to the two Man City boys, I think it was very very close, and it was always about a personal choice. But
Mm.
I was always rooting for Nico O'Reilly to win it because of
Okay.
only one thing, which
Interesting.
is very different from all of these players, which is his consistency, Haribhai and Defective Bhai. I feel from the day one he has been made to play a left back position where
Correct.
he himself is not a left back. And if you see his matchups this season, I mean, the kind of players that he has played against, be it Salah, be it Saka, even in one of the Arsenal matches when Saka was injured, Madueke was subbed post halftime. And even the Chelsea game, I remember correctly, when he was pitted against Palmer, he did really well. In the Champions League, the game that we won against Madrid at Bernabeu, he absolutely decimated Rodrigo and Valverde. So overall, from get go, from the first game of the season, he had hardly put a foot wrong. And just because of his consistency throughout the season, I would always have thought that he was the deserved winner. And I think, yeah, rightly so, that he's been given award.
मेरा भी सेम ओपिनियन, +1 whatever पीयूष भाई said, but I feel अगर कोबी माइनो स्टार्टिंग से स्टार्ट करता तो he could have given a tough fight to Nico Riley, but Nico Riley, come on, totally deserved, yeah, replacing Guardiola on that position, or
Correct.
not replacing but covering, let me put in good way, covering Guardiola. किसी ने
Hmm.
एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था लेफ्ट में ये बंदा संभाल पाएगा, बिकॉज आई थिंक सिटी
Correct.
फैंस वर रिलाइंग ऑन रिको लुइस ऑन अ
Yeah.
मेजॉरिटी ऑफ टाइम, है ना, बट वो उतना नहीं कर पाया, उसको चांसेस मिले थे बट स्टिल वो जेलअप नहीं कर पाया. बट आई थिंक जितना भी बोला पीयूष भाई +1, बट दो तीन नाम है which I was thinking more on this list was
Ha.
the first was Lewis Hall, because
Yes.
of this injury वो नहीं आ पाया. I'm pretty sure
Correct.
that's वो नॉमिनी में भी नहीं है. The other one
Ha.
was Alex Scott, मतलब which
Yes,
I
Bhai.
believe Alex Scott अगर होता, जब बॉर्नमथ में अगर क्रूपे की जगह ज्यादा प्रेज मिलना चाहिए एलेक्स स्कॉट को, जहां बॉर्नमथ है,
Correct.
इज अ वेरी गुड टैलेंट. Midfield is a very hard position, and as a youngster, and you're putting Bournemouth on Champions League next year, which is very good possibility they can, and not easy भाई मेरे हिसाब से तो एलेक्स स्कॉट वाज अ गुड शॉट. एंड थर्ड वन आई विल गो विद कायोडी, मतलब
Hmm.
बहुत लोग उसकी बात नहीं करिए. ही इज आल्सो कमिंग फ्रॉम डच लीग and going crazy in Brentford, playing at right back position, उधर भी बहुत हेल्प किया भाई ब्रेंटफोर्ड को. And I think
Yeah.
he's 20 or 21 if I'm not wrong,
Hmm.
है
Yes,
ना.
Bhai. He's also under 21, and I think he's sorry, defective. Bhai. Go for it.
नहीं मैं यही बोल रहा था कि I think he's also a good shout, but I know why Nico Riley like won this award. I think it's totally deserved on Nico Riley, but these guys can also give a tough fight next season, मेरे को लग रहा है.
Hmm. Hmm. But Piyush bhai, just one question. Amongst the City fan base, were there any discussion? Because from an outside perspective, I mean, I've seen Nico O'Reilly play and also Ryan Chucky play this season. In terms of impact and in terms of the, yes, Nico O'Reilly did come up with very important goals and he had to cover for Guardiola and he did come up with important goals. But I think what Chucky bought out for City this season, right? Everybody had come, like, before Chucky came to City, there were always, I wouldn't say complaints, but doubts about his mentality, doubts about how he would fit in to the rigors of Pep Guardiola, because he felt like a very carefree player who wanted to do something, who wanted to, play football in his own manner, and which he had been successful with. But coming into this system, fitting into the Pep Guardiola mold, and grabbing the being this creative force for Man City, and also goes to show with his numbers there as well, with 12 assists, and he's also created 19 big chances. By I think it's only the second most when compared to Bruno, who's had 20 assists and 32 big chances. So I mean, if everybody is having a shout for Bruno for best player of the year in terms of what a creative force he is, so shouldn't Chucky, in that same, at least the logic, also be a top contender, or at least in my eyes, I thought he was very, very deserving of this award.
Yeah, I think I think you're quite right, Haribhai, in your assessment with regards to Turkey. And I think a lot of people have forgotten, like, this is the season where we have played the most anti-Pep football ever. Like, in
Yeah.
terms of, it never felt like the city that we know under Pep Guardiola. We struggled a lot. Yes, we could have we accumulated a lot of points. We dropped points as well, but there have been so many games where I felt it was down to his own individual brilliance, in terms of him giving an assist or him creating a chance, a big chance or something like that, which eventually ended up in us scoring a goal and us winning a point rather than us dropping points. So I felt his impact is as bigger as anybody's in the league. But the and it's very, as you said, but it's very difficult to actually understand
Exactly.
what fans' perspective are, because in this day and age of this social media, it's always very extreme with regards to the opinions. So I ended up reading a lot of things where some of the people of the City fan base wanted Nico Riley to become the player of the season, like the main one. But you can't do that, right? You have, when you're categorized under 21, then you need to, you're here. But I understand why they say this, because it brings a lot of clicks towards it. There are
Hmm.
very few rational people that I've met who have actually had discussion with regards to whether it should be Nico Riley or Ryan Cherky, and I think none of them would be a bad pick. For me, it's just a personal choice based on the fact that I thought Nico Riley's consistency trumps over Ryan Cherky's impact, and I felt Ryan Cherky did not have enough games under his belt
Hmm.
for him to
Hmm.
become the player of the season. When you're
Hmm.
competing with likes of, let's say, as Yash Bhai said,
Mm.
Alex Scott, or let's say Coyote, or let's say Nico O'Reilly, who have been playing throughout the season and they're
Yep.
performing almost in every game. They've been very essential to their team. So I felt in that way, if you're going to be pitted against these kind of players, then for me personally, I felt the edge should be given to the players who has been far more consistent. And there, I think O'Reilly just trumps Cherky.
Yeah. Brilliant insight, Piyush Pai. And I think Nico O'Reilly, as the panel says, and also I truly believe has had a fantastic season. So I think we can now announce as the Football Corner Pod young player of the season is also Nico O'Reilly. I think he's had a fantastic season. And as Piyush Pai said, one of the things that we forget is the adjustments that he had to make in his game. He's not
Mm.
a
He was
natural
not a
left
proper.
back.
Mm.
Exactly. The adjustments he had to bring. So I mean that when you play out of position, your confidence obviously drops, and you're not sure. But for having being so young, playing out of position, and having to also fill out for Guardiol, who's also a major goal threat. And
Mm.
that goes to easily being translated by Nico Riley, who's, I
Yep.
mean, 5 goals and 3 assists, and some of the positions he gets in the box. I mean, he sometimes is a poacher. Like most of his goals, it's not like he's outside the box or fluke crosses getting into the goals. No, he occupies central positions in the D, and I think that comes with a lot of confidence and self belief. And Nico Riley truly deserves it
Yep.
as the young player of the season. Brilliant. So that was quite easy. We've all agreed, we've all talked about what the differences in the players are. And also, I think, Yash Bhai, thank you so much for bringing up some players who were in part
I
of
just
this.
want to add on as well one thing. अगर मुझे नहीं पता was the Premier League nominee list, but I still feel कि अगर उन्होंने असेसमेंट किया होता ना गोलकीपर का भी, हमारा सरल लमस का
हाँ
भी नाम आना चाहिए था उसमें, because he is
हाँ
still 23 and उसने भी जो हमारे सीजन निकाली है ना, थोड़ा यूनाइटेड बायस आएगा मेरा obviously, but I think he had a brilliant season.
I think it's a very fair
I
shout,
think
bhai.
cutoff is
He
21, right? Young
No, he's
player of the season,
23.
if
He's
I'm not wrong.
23.
It's
But
23. Okay.
23 is a nominalist. वो end वाली age वाली होती है. But
Okay.
I think Lamins also deserved, like, अगर goalkeepers में shout आता तो.
Yes.
But he was also a youngster, यार.
I think he have the most saves in the Premier League. I think something like that. I don't know.
Hmm.
Most shot stops. So yeah, it's a
He
very
just
good
had
shout.
7 clean sheet, but still, I believe he was brilliant goalkeeper throughout the whole season.
Mm. Yeah, it's not the clean sheets, but I think it was the saves. I think he
Hmm.
leads the saves for
Hmm.
the goalkeepers in the Premier League, if I'm
Yep.
not wrong. That
Yep.
is perfect. Next, I think next one there'll be a lot of debate because it was very difficult for me as well. So I picked four, and what we're going to talk about is the Premier League goal of the season. So I have picked four that I thought were absolutely wonderful in terms of, I wouldn't say all of these, like, I don't know about, I mean, I thought the sports life free kick versus Arsenal obviously had a huge impact. Dorku Wally versus Arsenal was also an important goal. The first two goals were spectacular, but I don't think they were how to say, had a huge impact on the game, or at a crucial juncture of the game. But nevertheless, I've picked four. So I think I will do the same thing, Piyush Bhai and Defective Bhai. If you feel that any other goal this season has not made the list, please do let me know, number one. And number two, if you've forgotten what these goals look like. We can also go back. I have a tab open where we can also look at all of these goals to see
मुझे
if you've
remember
forgotten any of these goals.
I think I remember all the goals and ये तो लाइव करी थी यार ये मैचेस तो लाइव देखी थी तो कैसे बोल ये गोल्स बट
I
पीयूष
mean,
भाई आप
as you said, Hariba, it's one of those categories which it's very difficult to actually choose,
Yes.
and like for me to actually rationalize, because there's no rational, like it's pure bit of magic from all the goals that we've seen, and it becomes very difficult and it becomes more subjective as to what you
Yep.
personally like. And
Yep.
amongst the four that I can see here right now, and I if I would just as a City bias, because I kind of covered all the City games this season, I felt the goal of Doku against Liverpool was also
Liverpool.
very
Yes.
good. That was
Yes.
amazing goal. But
Yes.
I still feel the goals that we have here are fair enough for, in terms of who should be touted to be goals. And amongst the four, I feel I'm very much caught up between the two goals. One in both the bottom goals, the Szoboszlai free kick
Mm.
and Dorgu's volley, because I feel if you see the context in both the games, I think it's far more greater than what Richarlison
Yep.
and Zubimendi did. And I
Yep.
also feel the sheer quality of the keepers that they were against. I
Yep.
mean, both of them against Raya, beating
Raya.
Raya from that kind of a range. I think we've seen this season he has been by far the best keeper in terms of positional play and him saving and everything. And also the angle by which Szoboszlai scored that goal. I think none of us expected that to go in from that range. So it was quite a good goal, but I would just slightly go with Patrick Dorgu's goal because of the way that game was panned out, the amount of heat that was generated before the game between the old rivals in Arsenal and United going back to Emirates and then defeating them was a sight to behold for a lot of people. I quite enjoyed the Dorgu goal more than Szoboszlai goal. So I would say Dorgu for me.
and
Mhm.
I think before that game, many of fans have expected कि Arsenal was the favorites to win against Manchester United. No one had, मतलब वो draw expect कर रहे थे हम लोग, but majority fans base never expected कि भाई Arsenal ये game हार सकती थी. And Dorgu goal was everyone was shocked. Yeah, मतलब coming from
Yeah.
left winger, who expected he was gonna be left winger position? Who
Yeah.
expected कि और हम जीतेंगे ये बंदा जिताएगा मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड को एंड देन आई थिंक आफ्टर दैट गोल ही काफी लोग ने इसको गैरेट पैट्रिक डोरगू नाम दिया
Hmm.
राइट पैट्रिक गैरेट बेल डोरगू राइट तो वी आल्सो नो कि भाई ये बंदा लेफ्ट विंगर भी खेल सकता है वी नेवर नो एंड आफ्टर दैट आई थिंक डेनमार्क डेनमार्क है ना ये डेनमार्क से आता है ना ये डेनमार्क
Yeah.
उसको ज्यादा लेफ्ट विंगर में खिलाया था अभी
Hmm.
राइट बट
Yeah.
I will not take the glory, but Sobo's life free kick was brilliant. मतलब मैंने बिल्कुल expect नहीं किया था and I was shocked when I देखा तो मैं भी ऐसे ही हो गया था. That
Yeah.
free kick was amazing free kick from Soboslai and उसने बहुत free kick मारी है ये season भी and
Yeah.
काफी shocking chances भी थे Soboslai but I would keeping them equal. मैं एक select नहीं कर पाऊंगा बहुत मुश्किल होगी but I will keep the Soboslai और को equal but अगर choose करना पड़े तो Zubimendi and Richarlison goal was brilliant but Zubimendi का वो जो प्लेयर था ना जो बॉल एकदम स्मूथली इन गई थी अगेंस्ट द
Hmm.
फॉरेस्ट गोलकीपर इट वाज
I
ब्रिलियंट
think I think he scored a similar goal against Leeds as well at Emirates, if you guys remember.
रियल
I
सोशल
mean,
एज
when they scored 5 goals for the first time this season
वेल
against Leeds at Emirates, he had done the same kind of volume. उसमें 2 goal मारे थे Zubi ने, and one was like this only. But you're right, bhai. This was a bit better. But bhai, फिर भी in comparison to what Dorgu's and Szoboszlai's were, I think it's
Yeah.
थोड़ा सा पीछे for me.
बट नहीं पीयूष भाई
I
आपका
mean,
भी तो सिटी का गोल था ना डोको वाला भी आई थिंक अगर वो गोल्स नहीं आता तो आप उधर ही हार जाते हैं वही
Yeah,
मैच
yeah,
हार जाते हैं
100%,
so those
100%.
goals were so important I think City was 1-3 and लास्ट में 2 गोल सलाह की
See,
तरह
that
मार
was that was that was Everton. मैं लिवरपूल वाले की बात कर रहा था, which came early in the season. And he, by the way, he just आपको याद होगा वो सीन जब उसने ग्रेवेनबर्ग को और I think Gomez was there,
Hmm.
or maybe the other center back. नहीं, other center back नहीं था. Gravenberch and हाँ Konate थे. And he had just done one move जिससे वो दोनों को cross कर गया. मतलब he just
हाँ,
flipped both of them and then he took a turn and उसने फिर मोहम्मद शैली को वहां से beat किया था, which kind of looked impossible.
hmm.
Aesthetically, it was looking really good. But वैसे goals हमने कई बार देखे हैं. We've seen Coutinho score those kind of goals. We've seen
Of course, yeah.
Sterling score few goals like that. Sane and साला वाला ने तो किए ही हैं. But I
Hmm.
think these two goals, जैसे आपने बोला भाई, I think none of us expected both those goals to go in. चाहे वो
Yeah.
शोबोस्लाई वाला फ्री किक को उतने दूर से लग नहीं रहा था, और जिस तरह से वो डिप हुई थी बॉल,
हाँ,
it was
100%.
almost
फोटो भी लग
none
रहा
of the keepers in the world would have saved that. And Dorgu wala, the even before he had scored, the run that he took by taking on the Arsenal defenders and then striking it that beautifully, और फिर वो विनर में कन्वर्ट हुआ. आई मीन अमेजिंग भाई. तो जस्ट मतलब जो पूरा माहौल था उस हिसाब से मेरे लिए डोरगू जस्ट पिप्स शोबोस्लाइज फ्री किक अ बिट बेटर बस.
बट मैं
Yeah.
थोड़ा वो स्टेटमेंट दे सकता है, सोबोसलाई का तो बनता था वो गोल, बट डोरगू का मेरे को लग रहा है कि यार
Yeah.
तुक्का लग गया उसका. मैं ये बोल सकता हूँ.
अब
We
भाई
didn't
तुक्का
know
लगे, हाँ तुक्का
as
लगे जो
United
लगे, गोल
fans.
तो गया ना
वो
भाई लेकिन.
तुक्का था, बट जो लगा है वो एकदम प्रॉपर लगा है.
हाँ और क्या.
No, as United fans, we didn't even know that Dorgu had shooting both boots until that goal against City. So previously, just before the goal that he scored against City, Piyush Bhai, if you remember,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the 2-0
yeah,
victory. And
yeah.
then next week he goes and does this against Arsenal. And I mean, people might say some like this also went for a VAR check, if you remember, Piyush and Defective
Yeah,
Bhai,
yeah,
that
yeah.
some part of his hand was used, but the strike itself was insane. But
Insane.
just to give some context to Sportslai's free kick, I just saw what distance this goal was scored at, and this was scored at around 32 yards away from the goal. So, I mean, and he got it into the top left corner. But I think Piyush Bhai has made a clear and distinct winner. I wouldn't say distinct, but he just says that the Dorku goal pips it. Defective, by your final thoughts on if you're are you able to choose now, or are you
यार मैं तो
stuck
इक्वली अभी
between
भी इक्वल यार, बट चलो यार, I'll take the Soboslai free kick यार.
okay,
I'll take the
perfect,
Soboslai.
then the vote goes for me, I guess. But I will choose
आप
Dorgu
बता दो, आप
versus
भी एक बता दो. आपने आपने चूज
exactly.
किया ही होगा ना जब आप सिलेक्ट कर रहे
uh,
थे तो.
I feel the Dorgu volley versus
डोर-
Arsenal. I'll tell you why. Because with Szoboszlai this season, I thought he's been Liverpool's best player, and it
Hmm.
also, I think, the free kicks that he scored this season, I think 5 or 6 he scored this season, all have been top quality. Whereas with Dorgu, it was just a, how to say, a lightning bolt out of the blue. You don't expect to see this. Like, even this guy, he couldn't believe he was wanting to celebrate with Bruno, and then Bruno told him, "No, celebrate alone. This goal deserves
Hmm.
the celebration alone," because that was he didn't know that he had it in him. So I
Yeah.
believe the Dorku volley versus Arsenal, and how purely he hit it. It didn't even hit the it didn't even hit the net. It
But
hit the top bar
the
and hit in
chance,
and then went.
first he
Uh,
passed to Bruno and Bruno put the
yeah,
ball to him. वो बढ़िया था, वो
yeah,
ट्रांजिशन बहुत बढ़िया था. But so, just to
exactly.
interrupt, I think Indian Jodi is in the ch-
He's joined it. Oh, amazing. Let me try to add him. Kanishk Bhai. Is Kanishk Bhai सुनाई दे रहा है आपको? Yeah, I think he's gonna join. Okay, perfect. Then until Kanishk joins, perfect. Then we have a second award of the evening. Then the Premier League goal of the season. So it was a tie between Dorku and Szoboszlai, and the winning vote went to me. And then obviously I chose Dorku's volley versus Arsenal. But Szoboszlai's free kick versus Arsenal was a very, very close runner-up. Perfect. Then we move on to the next award, and here I think there's going to be more debates. The Premier League Manager of the season. Just to run through the nominees: Arteta, who's been always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but finally he has been the bride, and he can now throw his flowers to somebody else. What a I mean, he's been pipping at City every season or Liverpool every season, and finally he has had his time as champion. So Arteta, Michael Carrick for an unbelievable second half of the season, an interesting nominee, I would say, because of how much of the season he's missed, and he just came on the second half of the season. Then Anthony Irola, who's also Irola, who's had a fabulous season as well,
Hmm.
with Bournemouth taking them on the cusp of Europe, or I think they already have Europe. Pep Guardiola, who, despite a very tough start to the season, and also when everybody thought that Arsenal would be runaway champions, brought the title race back to life, also for the neutrals to make it interesting. Last but not the least, Fabian Hutzler from Brighton, who had an interesting start to his managerial career, and had a lot of draws and was not winning much, but suddenly with a good string of results, there on the cusp of getting some sort of Europe. And finally, for me, the dark horse, and I think everybody had given up on Brentford. Every pundit who started the predictions the start of the season said Brentford will go down, and this man has somehow done some sort of magic to not just keep them up but to keep them competitive. They're very, very competitive, very hard to beat at home, and they are even at the cusp of having a top 10 finish. Keith Andrews from Brentford. So these are my nominees, and Piyush Bhai and Defective Bhai. If you feel any of these managers don't deserve to be there, any of these managers need to, that I've missed someone, please do let me know. But who do you feel is the manager of the season?
But I think I would go first, Haribhai. I think people might hate me for saying this, but I feel they're going to give it to Arteta, which I
Mhm.
think he also deserves it. There's no denying the fact that he deserves it, because after so much struggle, after so much heartbreak, he has eventually done a very good job with Arsenal, and he was tested in every form possible, and only then when he passed almost every test that he got his hands on the trophies. So that would taste way more sweeter than any other trophy that he has ever received or he would have received. For me, I think I have a very clear winner in my own head, and it was Keith Andrews. And for the same reasons as you said, as you pointed out, Haribai, I think when we talk about in terms of predictions and everything, and I remember very correctly that I had predicted in my own head that Brentford is the team that is going to get relegated this season, purely because of the amount of players that they lost, in terms of them losing Mbumo, them losing Bisa, and more than those players, even Norgard for that matter. More than those players, I felt the biggest loss was their manager, who was there for them for 7 6 7 years, and everything that we know of Brentford was synonymous to Frank. So if I would have told you, Haribhai, what are your thoughts on Brentford? Yeah, what is the first image that comes into your own head? You would have said Ki Thomas Frank doing something on the sideline, and that became so synonymous to what they were trying to achieve in those years, in terms of the stability, in terms of how they play football, how difficult they were to be beaten. I like some stupid guy had already given up on Brentford, and little did I know about football. This guy comes, and the way his team performed this season, it was a joyous team. It had a lot of reflection of what Thomas Frank stood for, the principles, and in terms of the players and everything. And we are always gravitated towards the underdog story. When we know for a fact that there's a team which is punching above its weight, you kind of like that team very much. So only for that reason I felt, since the odds were stacked so much against this particular team and this manager, nobody knew who Keith Andrews was before the start of the season. Even midway season, nobody knew who Keith Andrews was. Just shows you and tells you what kind of a job he had, and him getting into the nomination itself is a very big achievement. I have nothing against any of the other managers. I feel all of them had beautiful seasons. Somewhere down the line, all of them can make a case of themselves. But one, and even if I take you all back to, let's say, start of the season, if I ask you pick, if you were to pick 5 6 managers for the manager of the season, which we would see whether they end up in the end of the season or not, most of us would pick the Guardiolas, the Artetas, even Areolas, and if not Carrick, then we would some of us would have picked Amorim as well because of the things that he had done for Sporting. So I felt nobody anticipated him to do what he did for Brentford, and that is why for me these kind of managers needs to be celebrated, validated, so that is going to be so that they become inspiration for a lot of managers and lot of stories as well. So for me it is very clear that I would have given it to Keith Andrews.
Brilliant, Piyush Bhai. I
100%, 100%.
let I just wanted to say something. When I put this nominee, right, like when I made this um, category, this manager was my first choice to be manager of the season. And then I went to check out his pictures because I had to choose a picture to put of his. And then I could find all the managers' pictures on Transfermarkt or from a similar website. And this guy, I had to go from another website, cut his background out, and then put him in. So it just goes to show
Mhm.
how underrated this guy has
Very
been.
underrated.
And for him to do the job exactly, Piyush, but I think you couldn't have put it any better because to have lost Mbumo at this club by, I mean, I don't know what goes on with this club, but they're just if you lose a star player, somebody comes in, they perform. If you lose a good manager, somebody comes in, they perform. This club is so self-sustainable, so self-sustaining that they don't lose their marbles when they lose a player. They build them up, they sell them at a very good price, but they have somebody who comes in and does the job by. And to be honest, for example, when Tony and Embumo left, and the season we've had now, Igor Thiago, what a mad season he's had by. I
Hmm.
mean, like we're talking about a I mean, he is now the outright Brazilian. No Brazilian has
Mhm.
scored more goals than him in the Premier League
Mhm.
era ever. And this Premier League has
100%.
been graced by some great Brazilians. I mean, even like, I
Mhm.
mean, this could even be a one season wonder, but what he's done, and that all comes from a manager who's had him in the last year itself, but hadn't had a chance to play. And this season he comes trumps and then. To take Brentford to a top 10 finish and not to fight for relegation by for me in my eyes that's a big achievement.
Yep, 100%. And अगर मेरी prediction थी भाई relegation में was Wolves, Burnley and Brentford.
Yep,
But I think सबने ही रखा होगा because भाई you're losing Visa, you're losing the manager, you're losing the
correct.
28 goals and assist guy in their squad. है ना? The mainly you're losing your captain भाई, Nordgaard to एकदम to Arsenal, right? No one thought कि Keith
Yes,
Andrews इतना
exactly.
चेंज
True.
अप कर देगा. Very underrated, very underestimated by other managers as well, and he put his job very well this season. Let's see, hope कि next season कर पाता है. But मेरे लिए Premier League of the season, I would give it to Arteta only. But 2026 में I would pick Michael Carrick भाई. He was so good this season. मैं बिल्कुल expect नहीं किया था. I kept Manchester United number 10 after Ruben Amorim sacked. I was so sad. I was so frustrated with Manchester United and the way he gelled up in 2026. Now, I'd definitely go with Michael Carrick. The result he changed. He put Kobe Mino, whatever, कुछ भी बोलो यार, ठीक है. I was totally wrong on Michael Carrick. मुझे नहीं लगा था कि हम ये पोजीशन में एंड अप करेंगे. I was still hoping कि I was just hoping and wishing कि हमको सिर्फ नंबर 4 का स्पॉट मिल जाए, है ना. But he put at number 3 and very comfortably he put at number 3.
Huh.
And so 2026 for Michael Carrick, but throughout the whole season, जो Mikel Arteta ने suffer किया है, like from the criticism, like Keith Andrews, of course underrated, but उसको इतना pressure नहीं था, मैं इतना बोल सकता हूँ. But Arteta पे day one से pressure था, like the 7 years pressure, and
True.
he was performing on UCL. He played final in Carabao Cup. He played semi final in FA Cup. Now he's in Champions League. उसके भी players बहुत injured हुए थे. नए प्लेयर्स थे, नए स्ट्राइकर्स थे. स्टिल ही मैनेज समहाउ पुटिंग वन गोल, पुटिंग द हराम बॉल, कैसे भी फुटबॉल खिला खिला के he he went to the Champions League final and he's the Premier League champion. So I would pick Mikel Arteta this season. मेरा pick man of the season Mikel Arteta ही होगा यार.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Defective Bhai. And we have with us joining also as a Newcastle fan, Kanishk Bhai, who is the face behind the channel Indian Geordie. So thank you so much, Kanishk Bhai, joining us. Are you able to hear us?
Yeah, yeah. What's up, Hari Bhai, Defective Bhai, and
Oh,
Piyush Bhai?
thank you so much, Kanishk Bhai, for joining us. Kanishk Bhai, your thoughts on the Premier League Manager of the season? Any thoughts that you have apart from all the other things that were being said?
Okay, so I think the first choice should be Arteta because barring because he have won the league, right? But if
Yes.
you just put that guy aside, for me, I think Iriola would be my like favorite choice to win because if you
Yep.
see, he have lost like many players, Hoyson, Kerkez, Semenyo, Zabarni. So, and then initially also he was in the shout for like he was in top two, right, in the beginning of the
Yes.
season till they played
Yes.
City. And since I think since this Jan window, they have again like they are defeatless, right? They have not
Yeah.
lost a game, I think, game or so. So
Yep.
I think it's a big shout and bringing the club to the Champions League glory. So I think it's a big thing, big leap, and he's not hesitant to throw the the flair players on the pitch. Like he is not like he just brought the Ryan and he just threw them right away on the very first game, and he's just
Mm.
doing wonders for them. So I think
Yep.
like for me he would be my like first choice to do that. Even Keith Andrews, but Keith Andrews is like he got. He was a set piece coach. I think he was a set piece coach, but they didn't. They lost Visa, and everybody
Mm.
thought Brentford would be in the relegation spot. But I think for me, the bigger battle was with Bournemouth when they have lost many of their key players, like which have improved their season by season, and in the mid of season they lost Semenyo, who was riling up high on the like, and who was the main reason when they were on high, and then they brought
Okay.
the right replacement. There's one more guy they brought. I don't know. They didn't show them a lot. The Alex Stott. He's from Hungary. He's also a good wonder
Mm.
kid from Hungary. So
Yep.
for me,
Yep.
it's Iriola. And as because sorry, Piyush, by Pep is there, but Pep ko like he have got these kind of awards many times. So for me, Iriola is like
पेप तो अलग ही
the
लीग
first.
में ना मतलब उसको तो अलग ही रखते हैं ना
Yeah,
लाइक हमने एक्सपेक्टेशन गोइंग क्या होती है भाई सिटी विनिंग प्रीमियर लीग सिटी विनिंग यूसीएल या कोई ट्रॉफीज वो तो
yeah.
होता ही है पेप के अंडर बट जिसने इस बार शॉक किसने किया विच इज माइकल आर्टेटा राइट इस बार प्रीमियर लीग जिता के पेप तो अनदर लीग नहीं है मतलब
Yep.
एंड आई थिंक सिटी फैंस को बहुत मुश्किल होगी इवन तो सिटी क्लब को ही बहुत मुश्किल होगी लूजिंग पेप गार्डियोला नॉट ओनली लूजिंग पेप गार्डियोला बट आई थिंक दे आल्सो लॉस्ट देयर असिस्टेंट मैनेजर दे आल्सो लॉस्ट देयर सेट पीस कोच एंड मैनेजमेंट में काफी चेंजेस आने वाली है दे आल्सो लॉस्ट देयर लेजेंडरी प्लेयर्स लाइक जॉन स्टोन्स एंड बर्नार्डो सिल्वा एंड दे रॉड्री की भी रूमर्स आ रही है तो आई डोंट नो हाउ सिटी विल मैनेज इट विल वन ऑफ द मोस्ट वो देखने वाला क्लब होगा नेक्स्ट सीजन बट पेप को अलग ही रखते हैं यार हम दिस लिस्ट में से अलग ही नाम रखता हूँ मैं तो
Yeah, absolutely. Pep is a legend in itself. But for the sake of the conversation, I think, does it make sense now if we split this award into two? So we can say, I think if we just keep it the Premier League Manager of the season, do we all agree it should be Arteta? Or do we have any? I mean, Kanishk Bhai said it should be Roala, which is also a very, very fair shout. But in terms of votes, I my vote would go to Arteta. Piyush Bhai, yours?
I said that for me, it's Keith Andrews, bhai.
Keith Andrews. Okay. And then Yashpai,
आर्गुला आर्टेटा
Arteta. And Kanishpai,
Oh yeah, so if like sure among all these, it would be Arteta because he won the league,
Art-
right? And against all the odds, like when everybody is thinking after that City game, like it was
yes,
done. I remember the visual,
exactly.
like the I say it's not done yet. So that was the like I think that would be visual for coming 10 years.
Yep. Yep. So again, then it's decided by, I mean, in a democracy or in a democratic way, that Arteta is the manager of the season. And just a few words on Arteta. I just wanted to say, me personally, I've always uh, silently admired the guy. We've all made fun of him at various points, but that was just banter. We never meant anything to be personal. But this guy, I'm sure, has had so much pressure, so much to take in. It's not a very easy place, and I would say Arsenal have also done a very good job by keeping faith in him. They didn't change the manager when things weren't going right. They kept at him. He kept at with Arsenal, and they finally delivered a major trophy after 22 years at the Premier League. So this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I guess then the last category that we're going to look for is the Premier League Player of the Season. So just to go through the nominees, these are all of the nominees also from the Premier League website. You have Bruno Fernandes, Declan Rice, Semenyo, Raya, Gabriel, Thiago, and Haaland, and all of these players in their own right deserve to be a player of the season. But and the Premier League, just to let the viewers know, at the time of recording, the Premier League had already awarded Bruno Fernandes as their EA Sports Player of the Season. Piyush Bhai, Defective Bhai, and Kanishk Bhai, your thoughts on the Player of the Season, especially the debate on does the Player of the Season need to come from a winning team? And if that is the case, would you choose between Declan Rice and David Raya himself? Who would you choose in that Arsenal team to be the player of the season, but then your eventual player of the season as well?
I think Haribhai, for me, as the name suggests, it means player of the season. It never means player from the winning team, and we have seen that
Correct.
in yesteryears as well. Because I remember
Yes.
when City won two titles back to back. One season it was given to Salah, and one season I think it was given to some other player. And when Liverpool won, it was given to De Bruyne, and rightly so, because it kind of validates the individual performances rather than the team in togetherness. I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind that Arsenal were very good this season. They were the best team, they were the most consistent team, and that is why they won the league. And I feel Rice played a very big role in doing so. If it weren't for Rice, I think they would have found it way more difficult. But as you said, but it's very difficult to choose between Rice, Gabriel, and Raya for me. I mean, each of them have contributed enough to make a case of them becoming the player of the season. But what Bruno did for this Manchester United side, it is some kind of a Herculean effort. I mean, none of even the most passionate Manchester United fans after Amorim sacking wouldn't have anticipated them qualifying into the Champions League with third position, that is. And by the way, by the way, defeating every Big Six team in the process, be it City,
Yes.
be it United, be it Arsenal, be it Liverpool. So I think, and even the numbers don't lie with respect to what if you have had a season where you have equaled the record of most number of assists. I think, again, for me, assist is still not the metrics that needs to be taken into consideration for us deciding the Premier League player of the season. But the other metrics is also very good, like in terms of him creating the most number of chances. And then the next best player is Szoboszlai, which is like 45 chances behind Bruno. That just tells you this guy has been a creative machine. He has just dominated the league. You ask him to play a deep playing midfielder, he plays that. You ask him to play a 10, he plays that. You ask him to play an 8, he plays that. I mean, never gets injured, always plays for the batch. When the entire ship is sinking, there's this guy who just doesn't want to give up on anything. And as you said, as you said about whatever you said about Arteta, we secretly admire him. I to openly admire Bruno a lot. I mean, I've been a very big fan of Bruno, not from now. I've been a very big fan of him when he joined the league as well. So I think banter aside, I always felt like had Bruno played in those teams which kind of won so much for United, he would have been touted as one of the best legends as well. So he, in terms of his performances, you can still debate whether he sits there or not. But I think in terms of his consistency, I don't think so. There's more consistent player like in terms of playing at that level again and again. Like there's a case where people argue that he has only played whatever 35, 36 games, but it is not him. In whatever 36 games that he have played, the amount of pressure that he had to endure is no less than, let's say, a Rice or a Raya. I mean, the amount of pressure you get to get when you are a Manchester United captain every game week. If you don't perform, the kind of trolls, the kind of criticism you get is unparalleled to any of the players that I know for sure. The only team that matches that kind of criticism is Real Madrid. So that is the stature. And in that team, being the best player and creating so many chances for so many players, had United been more clinical in terms of them scoring goals, he would have hit 30 this season. So for me,
Yeah.
there is no debate with respect to Rice and Bruno, and that is why I feel Bruno is a clear winner in terms of player of the season for me, at least.
But what a brilliant tribute, but also rationalized so well, Piyush Bhai. So thank you so much for your thoughts. I mean, this you've not spoken as a City fan, and that's why I really love having you on the stream, because you think as a you're a football fan foremost, and then you wear the badge on your shirt. So thank you so much for your thoughts there, Yash Bhai. Uh, do you feel the same what Piyush Bhai said? And also, if you were to choose Arsenal's best player of the season by between Declan Rice, David Raya, and Gabriel, who is it? Because there's been a lot of debate on, first of all, the player of the season, as Piyush Bhai said, it's the player of the season and not the winning player of the season. That is number one. But number two, the second most debated thing is, if you were to give this award to, let's say, even the winning Arsenal team, who would it be from this Arsenal team? Because in my eyes, Defective by Yash Bhai and Kanishk Bhai, I it David Raya for me has been a splendid season he's had. I mean, some of the saves he's made, and also in such crucial junctures. Because when you think about Arsenal, and when you think about how in the most crucial junctures things go wrong for them, David Raya has been like a pillar. I mean, yes, he literally has a wall in front of him, but even when the wall is breached, this guy just shuts shop in that goal. And some of the saves he's made is outrageous, and especially the timings of these saves has been outrageous. So, just my thought in that would be David Raya is probably, in my eyes, the best player for Arsenal, and because he's been so difficult to get past. Yash bhai, your thoughts
Totally
on the
agree.
player
अरे
of the
totally agree.
season?
I know
And
why you're rating goalkeeper a lot because आपको उसका valuation पता है भाई.
ah,
As
exactly,
a
bhai.
United fan,
We
you know
know.
what the value of goalkeeper has. But for me, I'll pick Declan Rice because Gabriel जब injured था तो उसको cover करने के लिए defenders थे Arsenal में.
Mhm.
And the defenders थे, तो I believe Gabriel brilliant. Whenever he was there, he won the matches. But if you remove Declan Rice from the team, na, I don't think so. Arsenal team matches be kar pati. Like they could have bottled 2 or 3 matches and they could have won the lost the league or Champions League. कब से बाहर निकल जाता है अगर Declan Rice नहीं होता. You need that control in the midfield always. And मैं यूनाइटेड को भी यही बोलता हूँ. And why we struggle because we don't have the midfield like Declan Rice, right? अगर होते तो हम लोग भी अभी टाइटल रेस में बैठे होते आराम से. Declan Rice was so important in this team. The stats don't fluctuate that. But for me, it's Arsenal. But of course, it's Bruno Fernandes. जैसे पीयूष भाई ने बोला, it's +1 to all the stats and datas. Whatever पूरा तोड़ दिया है Bruno Fernandes ने. Having the worst team, मैं तो बोलना चाहूँगा यही टीम थी जो हमको नंबर 15 भी फिनिश करवाई थी with having 3 additional signings in our team, right? But जो लोग बोल रहे हैं ना कि वाई ब्रूनो फर्नांडिस वॉन द, मैं सिर्फ आंसर दे रहा हूँ उनको, जो राइवल्स जो भी मतलब जो बैंटर करे जो भी, वाई ब्रूनो फर्नांडिस बिकॉज ही डिड नॉट वॉन द लीग इन 2013. मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड वॉन द लीग. गेस हु वाज द प्रीमियर लीग प्लेयर ऑफ द सीजन? द नंबर असिस्ट नंबर में जुआन माटा वाज देयर एंड आई थिंक the highest scorer was मैंने
Van
निकाल
Persie that
Robin van
season.
Persie, right? Yeah.
Uh,
फिर भी guess who was the player who got the award?
I think it was not one of the United players, but I
No,
think it
it
was, I think,
was it
somebody
was
from
Gareth
City.
Bale Dorgu. Sorry, it was Gareth Bale. Dorgu बोल दिया. Sorry, it was
Gareth
Gareth
Bale.
Bale. Dorgu क्यों बोल दिया? It was Gareth Bale. But it was Gareth Bale. Okay. But why Gareth Bale? Because Piyush भाई ने simple से बोला भाई, the player of the season means player भाई. The way वो time पे he made the best chances for his team. अगर वो ना होता उसकी टीम और लैक करती. स्पर्स बहुत लैक करती. ओके. बट दे नो प्रीमियर लीग, नो प्रीमियर लीग प्लेयर्स, नो जर्नलिस्ट नो कि भाई ये प्लेयर ने कितना इंपॉर्टेंट था ये अपने टीम के लिए. दैट वाज बेल गॉट द अवार्ड. ओके. सिंपल सी बात है भाई. अगर ब्रूनो का रिकॉर्ड हमको भी पता है भाई, जो जिस हिसाब से उसने मोस्ट चांस बनाया ना, उसके असिस्ट नंबर 30-35 होने चाहिए था. अगर हालैंड हमारी टीम में होता तो इट वुड हैव बीन 30 या 30 आराम से. The last
And
match he
also,
made Brian Embo missing to the goal post, and then who was the other one missing the goal post? Zirkzee missed so many shots before that Liverpool game. Brian Embo missed the goal post again. So उधर ही कब का रिकॉर्ड 25 ही हो जाता आराम से, which I believe.
it was not just about being not clinical by also people forget where he played under
In the start
Amorim.
and the
He was playing exactly. He was playing 8 for Amorim and not yeah, not the number that he wears and plays, but
hmm,
he was playing so behind. He was sometimes even the farthest player in the box. I think his positionally, if you saw his heat map, there was Lamens and then Bruno and then all the others up front. He was trying to create from behind. So that was how more than half of the season that he's
100%.
played at this. Exactly. And to have
जैसे
come
पीयूष
to
मैंने बोला ना, मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड प्रेशर बना रहता है बिकॉज हम फैंस से क्रिएट करते हो प्रेशर बिकॉज don't forget that he management was against Bruno. He wanted him to leave. Okay, because
yes,
of some money. And Bruno said the pinky promise कि भाई मैं नहीं जाऊंगा. And then he उसने बताया कि मैं क्यों नहीं जा रहा. He put the badge on and showed कि भाई I can put this Manchester where it belongs. And the other thing is आपने दूसरा स्टार्ट भी दिखाया था इगोर थियागो का भी, राइट.
yeah,
मैं बताना चाहूंगा उसके उसके 22 गोल कितने 1 असिस्ट है ना.
ha,
हाँ. When Ronaldo came, it उसके भी 24 goals and assists थे. But why did not matter? Because it was Cristiano and because it was Manchester United. तो प्रेशर हमेशा बना रहता है. द लाइक यू नो द होल्ड करता है वो जो आपका नाम बन चुका है एंड व्हाई इट्स मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड. इस पे किसी ने एक और पे किसी ने क्वेश्चन नहीं उठाया. अदरवाइज दे ही पुट देम नॉमिनल लिस्ट पे. उस दौरान रोनाल्डो तो नॉमिनल लिस्ट में भी नहीं आया था. मैं यही बता रहा हूँ कि प्रेशर होता है हमेशा मैनचेस्टर पे. Even though we are not winning the league, we should not take away Bruno for that award यार. मतलब come on, he totally deserve this award. मैं यही बोलना चाहूंगा.
brilliant. Kanishk Bhai, your thoughts on the player of the season, and also if you could talk about we've talked about the player of the season. I mean, it's quite clear that Bruno has most of our votes. Kanishk Bhai, obviously, we'll get your thoughts in, but everybody, I believe that we all should talk about Haaland as well. I mean, we are talking about a guy who's had 27 goals and 8 assists and somehow is not being the focal point of the conversation. I mean, any other season where this guy, I mean, it's because he sets such high standards by, I mean, we've seen Haaland score like 30 goals plus that when that he doesn't hit that number, I think people take that for granted, but 27 goals and 8 assists, that is madness. By also that, and then Semenyo as well, I would like to give a quick word on that because to go from playing for Bournemouth is one thing where he was doing so well, but as soon as he came into that City team, by it's just like it clicked, right? He
Yeah.
immediately the
Hmm.
impact was there and he was able to contribute goals and assists, especially in the first few matches after his signing. It was not like he had to bide his time. It all just clicked so quickly. So Semenyo as well, a special
Even
word
उनकी
from my
अटैक
end.
में always भाई, I mean they have very good numbers. डोकू से लेके guess
Yep.
what foreign के भी भाई, I think it's 21 goals and assists throughout the whole season.
Hmm.
मतलब उनके
Doku.
numbers बहुत high attacking team में, but still I think Haaland has the was brilliant this whole season. But जो हम expect करते हैं ना हालैंड से, जो matches में
I
हम expect
mean,
करते थे ना, उधर वो perform
yeah.
किया इस बार.
And I think rightly conversation में नहीं Hari bhai. For me, I mean, if you
Hmm.
see his trajectory in terms of his scoring rate pre New Year was
Hmm.
way different to post New Year, and I
Hmm.
think the
Yes.
most number of points that we dropped was post New Year. And I think
Hmm.
had he replicated even 50% of his form in the second half of the season, the results would be so different. And that is why I feel in big moments in the games, as Yash Bhai said, where we actually needed him to step up and get us those 2-3 goals or whatever to just set us aside from the other teams, he found it very difficult. Unfortunately for
Hmm.
him, it didn't work out for him that way. And but what I would say about Semenyo is, I certainly feel, I don't know if you guys agree to me or not, I feel it is, if it weren't for Semenyo, City wouldn't be winning any trophies this season. Mind you, I
Hmm.
mean, when he came to Man City, the first game that he played was against uh, Kanishk Bhai's Newcastle United, and
Yeah.
that was Carabao Cup semi-final. And the
Yeah.
Hmm.
performance that he gave, by the way, in that game, and the as you said, by and it links back to what Haaland's deficiencies were.
Yeah.
If we didn't get those goals from Semenyo, then we would not have been competing for the title till the
Title.
game week 37. So I feel his impact is far more than, let's say, Gehi's impact in terms of City being relevant till game week 37. And I feel Haaland's dip off really just like it just tailed he just tailed off very early this season. So I think it's very fair that these guys are just given the due credit of their performances, but they're not in contention to, let's say, who should be in top 3 or top 2. For me personally, it was very very clear since like game week 34, 35. I knew it has to be Bruno.
Okay. I would agree to the Piyush Bhai point because Haaland was not visible after Jan. So that was the
Hmm.
thing. This is why we are not talking about him. Like I was about to put this point because if let's say we saw some of the things just last 1 or 2 3 games, but it from game week, I think game week 20 to game week 32 or something, he there was no visibility of Haaland. So I think that was the reason we are not talking about him. I think Piyush Bhai would agree to it with me. And talking about the player of the season stuff, I think it has to be Bruno Fernandes because it's a player of the season award. It's not something about the team. It doesn't matter if even your team is out of top five, but if you made those kind of numbers and you have showed the impact, you have to be there. And I think the Bruno Fernandes rightly deserved guy. And if you are asking me about the Arsenal,
Mhm.
I think it has to be David Raya because if you look last 5 to 6 games when the title was on the line, they were scoring 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. So it was him who was saving those, especially that West Ham game, that save, right? That was the titles that making it was that West Ham save, right, from Raya that me like was almost similar to that Martinez World Cup save.
Yes. Yes.
And the way Arsenal plays, because they don't attack, the thing is, moment the opposition get the ball, all the players run back, right? So he's a
Yep.
pivotal part of that defense because
Yep.
Gabriel have missed some games and he have did some some blunders during the first half of the season. So I think it has to be Raya for me, the best player from if it's not Bruno Fernandes, you have to pick from Arsenal squad because it was him. He had played every game in the league, and he was hungry to play even the cup games when Kepa was played. And I think there was Kepa blunders; they lost the one of the finals. So it shows like Raya is a pivotal part of their defense more than Gabriel. Yeah, Rice is there, but I think it has to be Raya because they are winning 1-0, 1-0. So to keep that lead
Exactly.
intact, to keep that clean sheet, it has to be David Raya.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much, Kanishk Bhai, also for that. I guess then it's unequivocal. Bruno Fernandes, you might win many awards. You might go to these award nights and get these awards in person. But there is an award from the Football Corner Pod channel for you for the player of the season. So it is Bruno Fernandes as well. So thank you so much to everybody who contributed, who debated this in such a rational way as well. This was absolutely brilliant. I just want to, before we leave, I know we are over the hour mark, but I just wanted to quickly, because you don't put an award for everything. So I just wanted to have a quick fire round where I just put like 4 5 things together, and then we're just saying what each of you think, and then we just go through a quick reasoning as to why that is. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So first up, the entire Premier League. So this constitutes of entire Premier League. So I want you guys to, the first thing that comes to your mind, I want you to blurt it out. And you guys can take turns. So signing of the season in terms of impact. Yeah, think about impact. Signing of the season.
For me, Ryan Cherky, bhai.
Brilliant. Defective by
Thiago, यार, Igor Thiago.
Igor Thiago. I think Igor Thiago by was already there
Oh,
previous
last
season.
match. Oh,
Yeah,
He
this
yeah,
was
is
he was
injured.
there. Yeah,
he
yeah.
was there.
Uh,
Then I can say Turkey, but यार वो है ना यूनाइटेड बायस आ जाता है मेरे उसमें चर्की के नाम पे. But yeah, definitely Turkey. But मेरा एक और नाम था यार दिमाग में. Was Manchester United Sen Laments में बोलना चाहूँगा यार.
Brilliant.
Impact
And
ही है
Kanishk
ना
bhai?
Laments.
Yeah, for me it was Lemons as well because right time pe aap banda leke aaye. You just brought the right guy and who was not. He you got it from on prop, right? And I think he changed their season and there were many games like he was the guy who give them like the three basic points they needed. Yeah, and from coming from out of top 10 or sitting on 9 position to top 5, it was him.
Yes,
Hmm.
brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. So next one is flop of the season in terms of the player. Flop of the season, whom you expected so much but didn't deliver anything.
I think
I
Florian
think
Wirtz for me.
those would be the guys from my team or Liverpool. So we have many candidates. It could be Visa, but even though he didn't play, he played his first game in December. So Visa could be flop of the season. Elanga
Mhm.
could be flop of the season, and I think Isak, even though he didn't play, I think still he played more
Yeah,
than 20 games. Isak could be the flop of the season, and words of it, I think, because he played major part of the season. So yeah, so you can
मैं-
choose.
Piyush bhai.
मेरा मेरा ना मेरा हॉट टेक था पहले से
Ah,
ही। इसको गुस्सा आएगा, इसको पता है वैसे वॉल्ट मारा क्योंकि
No,
मतलब
But Voltemada is not
I
flop
think
of the season.
अरे सुन
100.
तो ले, मैंने बोला था वर्स्ट सीजन कम कब डिसाइड करते हैं, एक्सपेक्टेशन हाई होती है, प्लस वो जब प्राइस, मेरे लिए ना प्राइस पॉइंट बहुत मैटर करती है, even the signing from our club as well. जिस हिसाब से हमने एंथनी, फॉर एग्जांपल टेकिंग एंथनी, ओके वी bought him, we broke the bank and we get him, still he had a good impact, but why he was judged because of the price money. वॉल्टमारा को ये बोलूंगा 90 मिलियन आप लेके आए, बट द प्राइस मनी में आप जो उसने गोल्स मारे, when we wanted Baltimore to do it, उसने नहीं किया, तो I think Baltimore was bad but not the worst. Worst में I will go with Isak या फिर I will go with Florian Wirtz, because of Florian Wirtz की quality है ना, it does not describe on the numbers यार, he we they brought because of the numbers Liverpool, but नहीं यार, Florian Wirtz was the one of worst signing in the Premier League this season.
So
Brilliant, brilliant
I
from
have a
all of
just a
you.
counter to Defective by sorry,
नहीं तो वो
because
बोलता मेरे को।
I have just to put my point. I'm saying if it was not Nick Voltemara goals, we would be in a relegation battle today,
हम्म,
because it was his early impact. Just prior to December, he have scored more than 8 goals and almost 10 goals for Newcastle United in all competitions. So we were flying high. We were on almost top of the 10. So after that, December, I think it was Visa appearance against Burnley. He started getting taper off, and then he didn't played many of the games, and he was just coming last 10 minutes. So if I think
हम्म,
after December, he have not started even more than 5 to 6 games in Premier League
Yeah,
as a starter.
yeah.
बट
So
बट वो एक और नाम भूल रहे यार, एक और नाम भूल रहे, गार्नाचो यार।
Ah. But I think the price to price to performance ratio has to be Isak by. But Garnacho was a good one. But I couldn't help notice everybody had a smile on their face when they said flop of the season except Piyush Bhai. I think I could see the pain when he said Foden. Piyush Bhai, we want to go a bit deep into what needs to
No,
happen for Foden now.
no, I mean, Foden. I mean, it's. I think. I mean, I as rational as I can put by. I think there's a clear agenda with regards to Foden. Anybody who does not watch what Foden does would always come up with numbers. And if you want to talk about numbers, as Yash Bhai said, his numbers are still very superior in most of the midfielders this season, let alone the others. I felt what the problem with this guy is, like
Hmm.
he's never played into a particular situation. Like he's always been asked to play in various situations in various different positions, and since the standards are so high in Manchester City that if you do not perform up to that level, you kind of thrown into a dungeon, something of that sort. If you remember when City were actually stitching in 5, 6, 7 games victory, City played a formation where they played two tens together, both Cherki and Foden, and both of them created so many chances for Haaland, and Haaland scored so many goals. And it was only after a few games when something happened in the midfield that he had to take him out. He never came back. I'm not sitting here and defending Foden, because I personally feel his bar is so high that he should be in contention of player of the season every year. Like he's for me, he's that good quality, and anything short of that is a failure for me as well. But
Hmm.
saying he's a flop of the season, it's kind of reached to me. But I personally feel it's just kind of agenda. It's kind of thing that where just people just scapegoat him for everything. I
Hmm.
feel I feel it's a good thing that he's not selected in the World Cup squad as well, because he's always made a scapegoat as well. So now that England are not going to win the World Cup, I really want to see what the excuses are.
Brilliant, brilliant, Piyush Bhai. Okay, let's go to the third one then. Most improved player. And here I want to start the chat. I think the most improved player of the season for me is Morgan Gibbs White from Forest. I think he's had a phenomenal season. I think he's one of the players who's I feel has improved so very much, and one of the most, I think, one of the biggest reasons Forest are staying up in the Premier League. What do you guys think, apart from Morgan Gibbs White? If not,
I think it's a very difficult choice, but there's so many
yeah,
players, by.
There's so
yeah,
many.
But the as you said, by the format is such that the first name that pops into your head, you just need to name them without
yes,
thinking too much. I think for me, I just cannot see past Anderson. I mean, the way
mm,
that guy has performed this season, and in that team where like the
correct.
entire team was struggling, as Gibbs White is also very consistent, but I feel what Anderson was doing, and that too with three different managers, his level never dropped in that team. So I personally feel it's Anderson.
Brilliant choice, by brilliant choice. Defective by.
भाई मेरा मेरे दिमाग में पहले एंडरसन ही आया था and I totally agree three different managers and that's why I rate so highly because he do whatever he wants to do just like Bruno like right he do his job इसलिए मैं एंडरसन को बहुत हाईली रेट करता हूँ बट मेरे दिमाग में दूसरा नाम बोलना चाहूंगा which is एनडी आया था मेरे दिमाग में
Ha.
And
from
I, yeah.
Iliman and Chai.
that
Yeah.
was so good this season और improve बोला ना that's why last season कोई नहीं जानता था ये season एनडी was so high in terms of the name and right तो मेरे दिमाग में दूसरा नाम एनडी आया था was so good.
If I can
Amazing.
just sneak in one name which I don't know if people are interested in not, and I think Matthias Nunes, bhai. I mean, playing in the right back position, being consistently delivering a 8 on 10 performance. Yes, he never had an outstanding moment, or let's say did not create 100 chances, but whatever the job was given to him, he was playing
Yeah.
out of position, and he was so consistent that City could rely on him for the entirety of the season. It kind of testament to how much he has improved as a player, but not at the level of Anderson and Gibbs White, 100%.
Yep. Kanish.
Kanishk by.
I think it has to be Anderson, like what Piyush Bhai told, like playing under three different managers, and that too with the different mindsets. Nuno like sitting at the back, then Postecoglou just all guns blazing, then Sean Dyche again coming to the back. So you have to, and within the same season, it's not easy. And that was like after Postecoglou and Nuno was like real quick transition, and then Sean Dyche was there for a while, and they were going good. I don't know why he was like sacked, and then rest of season is Victor Pereira, these guys. I think it has to be Anderson. And apart from that, I might have a little personal bias. I would like to know how you see that. I think Lewis Hall could be also a contender for one of the
Mhm.
good improved
Yeah.
players.
Yep.
Rogers, what about
100%.
Rogers?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I
Morgan
mean,
Rogers.
Rogers.
in a
Yes,
season where Watkins have been absolutely abysmal, at least till now.
Yep.
The consistency that they could accumulate in the mid-season, Emery's team, was all down to his brilliant goals. By we remember,
yeah,
we all of us remember that beautiful goal against United by that curler, and he kept doing it even in the Europa final. His performance was top notch. So I think it's a very difficult category to choose one from. But yeah,
But brilliant. I think I loved all of the choices. I think it was brilliant. And
आपको
then
आगे ना
one
आपको करना
final.
पड़ेगा हर टीम में से एक सिलेक्ट करो तो जाके होगा ये
Absolutely. One last category, and that is match of the season. Match of the season. I
ooh,
think, let me start this off. Defective Bhai and I were on a stream with
बॉर्न
Bournemouth by Bournemouth 4-4.
बात
I will tell you at some point, Yash Bhai just wanted to smash his laptop.
so
Could have 4-4
हाँ
Bournemouth.
भाई
Yeah.
वो टाइम ही ऐसा था ना but I mean I would have picked the United versus Arsenal only our City versus United वो दोनों गेम बहुत क्रूशियल थी मेरे लिए and on the City one I cried because भाई जो hate मिल रहा था ना United को I didn't expected और City was literally हमको dominate कर सकती थी वो गेम और हमने हरा दिया था उनको तो और इतने कितने हमने 3-0 से हराया हमने सिटी को इतना हराते हुए देखा भी नहीं था हमने ऑलवेज 6-0 से पिटते हुए 4-0 ओले के बाद मतलब पिटते हुए देखा है मैंने सिटी के साथ तो मतलब वो दिमाग में आ ही जाता है हमेशा एंड इट जस्ट द इमोशनल जस्ट came out from me and I think City या फिर Arsenal मैं यही बोलना चाहूंगा
I think for me there are two games. By I don't know if you guys remember The beautiful game of Palace versus Bournemouth, which ended up in 4-4. And on the last moment, in the last shot, Mateta just hit the post. So it could have been 5-4. That was a game, bhai, because at that point of time, both those teams were playing really well. Bournemouth were sitting in top four, and Palace was just behind them. And that game happened in Selhurst Park. It was very early in the season. I can remember it is somewhere in September, October. That is one game in terms of pure goal fest. And just for a personal reason, by City versus Liverpool at Anfield,
Liverpool,
where
yeah.
for the first time and after so long we defeated
Yeah.
Liverpool, and it was an epic game, by full of
Hundred
quality, full of
Yeah.
individual performances, and the way it ended with Szoboszlai getting red carded, penalty being goal being disallowed, and so on and so forth. I think the last game that Guardiola
percent.
ever managed at Anfield. So I think those are the two games that I feel were the game of the season for me.
इवन तो
It's such
कनिष्क
a
will also
beautiful.
agree this यार वो न्यूकासल संडे वाली गेम हमने साथ में देखी थी भाई वो गेम भी क्रेजी थी even the
Yeah.
scoreline was 1-1 but the intensity of the game now was so high.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think for me, only the first choice would be the Liverpool versus City. That game was like
Mm.
it was a quality game, and I think uh, it was the goal was disallowed, right? Piyush Bhai at the last,
Yeah,
or it was yeah.
yeah.
So
No,
that
it
that
was
was a
disallowed.
chaos. It was drama. It was chaos and everything, and then Pep's like gestures towards the crowd, and so that was for me the game of the season for me.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. That concludes the first ever
आपकी
Football
कौन सी
Corner
थी वैसे
Pod
आपने नहीं बोला
Awards.
आपकी कौन सी थी
Huh?
आपकी कौन सी थी ये तो बता दो
मैं बोला ना भाई, Bournemouth United
अच्छा आप
4-4.
बॉन्ड बना
That
अच्छा
was
हाँ
my
अच्छा आपकी
first
वही थी
option. Yeah,
अच्छा
yeah. And the second option was also a game that I absolutely enjoyed for the nerves and what it meant. Uh, that was Arsenal City by.
हम्म,
So the 2-1, I think that was also a fantastic match. It was like it had everything. It was not a free flowing match, but the
हम्म,
tension, what it meant, that was also a wonderful match. And I actually don't remember this 4-4 Crystal Palace Bournemouth. Probably I've forgotten or it was early in the season. But I'm guessing that was a cracker of a match as well. Yeah. Uh-huh. Perfect. That concludes the first ever Football Corner Pod Awards, and I just want to say a huge thank you to the panel, Defective Bhai, who's joined us for with all his insights. So thank you so much, Defective Bhai, Piyush Bhai,
thank you.
uh, beautifully rationalizing and putting things into context, and also at times, even though I didn't believe in things, I had to play devil's advocate. So thank you so much for rationalizing things and putting things into perspective as to why this can't be and why this has to be this way. And Kanishk Bhai, I know how difficult it was for you to join today, and despite all the odds, you still made it into the later part of the episode. So thank you so much, Kanishk Bhai. I appreciate it. Also, getting your inputs. So whoever's watching this, please go show your love to Defective Bhai, to Piyush Bhai, and to Kanishk Bhai. All the links to their channels will be made available in the links. So I will make sure that they're all made available. Please go show them your love. And as you've heard from each one of them, all of these guys are some of the most, how to say, thought provoking, heartwarming views that they give on the game. So just go follow them. And for everybody who is supporting us and following us on Football Corner Pod, I just want to say thank you, because your support allows us to bring guests of these caliber to the podcast as well. So thank you so much. And then until next time, I just want to say, all of these players might and will receive big awards, but here sitting in India on a remote location, we've concluded the first ever awards session. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's watched this, tuned into this, and thank you to everyone who continues to support us. And then, as I always say at the end of this stream, take care, stay safe, and be aware of any corners taken quickly. Yeah, see you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you.